everyone, to season 5, episode 7 of the Hall of Fame show. And I'm Kirk Buchner along with Evan Nolan. We run NotInHallOfFame.com, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we just had another pre-meeting about the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. Ballots are going to be going out shortly once we sort of revamp a few things, and we're pretty excited about that. Look for big news in that probably April. Hopefully not too late in April, but we're working on it.
Yeah, part of the problem is there's one major thing that we're short at the moment, and then I am gone for 2 weeks. So
And also, the Hall of Fame office is moving. We got that great offer from Seattle. So there you go. Thank you to the Emerald City for stepping up and saying, we want you to build your home here. It's possible that that's the real reason I'm moving to Seattle. It's possible.
I mean, I don't know your life. I've never actually been in the same room as you. So
No.
I will say I am going to be spreading the news. I am attending the Indiana State Broadcasters Hall of Fame dinner on April 7th, where my brother is being inducted there. So I will be in Indianapolis on April 7th for that.
Mm-hmm. And if you're a Notre Dame basketball fan, you know who his brother is.
Got it.
There you go.
That guy.
So yes, the voice for many people who have followed Fighting Irish basketball. But we've got some news today in a world that we don't talk about all that much because generally there's not that much to talk about. Wasn't all that long ago when I said elevator up is for really anybody because Vince McMahon doesn't seem to be the person deciding who gets into the WWE Hall of Fame anymore. Pretty much, from what I understood, it was all him. It'd basically be whoever he wanted. People, they'd throw suggestions at him, yay, nay, whatever, and gotta make sure that we have a woman, pal. So, because Vince McMahon doesn't want to be perceived as sexist in any way.
Oh yeah, I mean, he and Jan Wenner are at the top of that list.
Right. Got to make sure that we've got to have a black person in there because again, same joke, just different thing.
Yeah. Also Jan Wenner.
Also Jan Wenner. Not that I'll use the same thing. I'm not sure that Jan Wenner is racist, but I'm pretty sure he's sexist. I'm not sure that Vince McMahon is racist, but I'm pretty sure he's sexist.
Probably true.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So the WWE this week has really amped things up. They've announced 3 names for their Hall of Fame. I know that's not really your bag, baby, but I'm sure some of these are people you know.
I saw that it's supposed to be on April 5th. Is that the actual date?
Yeah, that's the 2 days before WrestleMania. So they record it after SmackDown. So they'll do that there. So the first name that came out, and it's sort of perfect because it's being held in Philadelphia, which is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman has been around forever. He got into the business as a photographer, transitioned into a manager, gained national attention in WCW there, where he was the main heel manager for a year. But why Philadelphia is so important is he was the man who would eventually buy and take over and completely mismanaged, but that's neither here or there. Extreme Championship Wrestling, which, as he would describe it, it was basically the grunge rock or the alternative music of wrestling. And that's how we saw it. The main promotions, WCW, WWE, would copy what he's doing, rate his talent. Some of the things he did was great. Some of the things maybe not so great because there was a lot of people doing unprotected headshots. And let's just say how it is. A lot of people who wrestled there are no longer with us. But he was still the evil genius mastermind.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Heyman is named that even as a very, very casual WWE person I know very well.
Yeah. And when ECW went under and then he sold that to the WWE, he became an on-air personality. And for a time, not anymore, a behind-the-scenes executive. He's now in a very high-profile role as the wise man of the Bloodline, which is the main heel faction that The Rock just joined.
The Rock joined a heel faction?
Yeah. Yeah, because the Rock is going to be competing at WrestleMania. I don't know if you know this, The Rock is now part of the board of directors.
I did not.
Yeah, allegedly he's got some input onto the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know if he does, if any of these names reflect that.
Mm.
I think Paul Heyman, because it's Philadelphia. Oh, because Philadelphia, for if you didn't know, was the home base for ECW, which is sort of like why it's perfect, even though he's a New York boy.
Hmm.
So congratulations to Paul Heyman, well deserved. I had him
Yep.
actually ranked number 9,
I'm surprised he wasn't in already, to be honest.
probably because he's active. But then
Oh,
they
that
do
makes sense.
weird shit though. Rey Mysterio's in, and
Mm.
so it's an interesting thing. I actually realized last WrestleMania, all WWE Hall of Famers went 4-0, inclu-
Interesting.
including Snoop Dogg, who had an impromptu win over The Miz when Shane McMahon blew out his I think he tore his quad doing a leapfrog, went down, went, then Snoop comes in and then just on the fly challenges Miz to a match, and then drops the Snoop's elbow.
Fantastic.
Snoop's a Hall of Famer. Figure that
Yes.
one out.
Well, hey, I mean, it's just anyone who has anything who was a celebrity there, basically, right? For the celebrity wing.
Yeah, but I mean, Snoop loves wrestling. He's been there a few times, so
Mm.
doing things for them. So why not?
Yeah.
As long as they don't say it. Well, Al Sharpton was a guest host once. Maybe they'll do that. No, they really shouldn't.
Who
You should,
knows?
you should
Well,
get,
and then they have Donald Trump. So, well, from well before he was president.
yes, but Donald Trump, as much as personal feelings aside, was part of one of the biggest WrestleMania angles and was on WWE TV many, many times. So
Oh, okay, that I didn't know.
yeah, say what we want about Trump. Love him, hate him. He's actually probably next to Andy Kaufman, the most worthy celebrity inductee. I got to call it like I see it.
Fair,
But
fair enough. Cool.
yeah. Saying that, let's talk to one I'd never thought I'd see. And this is fantastic. I'm going to assume you don't know too much about her, Bull Nakano.
I don't.
Okay, so women's wrestling's really changed in the United States quite a bit, right? Basically, they're not nothing's a bra and panties match. That shit's long gone, thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but in the 80s and the 90s, they weren't even getting on TV.
Mm.
So when they were, a lot of them bluntly weren't that good. It was a lot of punch, kick, hair pull, snapmare. That's just sort of the Fabulous Moolah style, right, wrong, whatever. But that's how she trained a lot of people. And a lot of people learned under her. So while those women were tough as nails, you couldn't really
Hmm.
show much of what they could do. Japan was a completely different story. The Japanese women were beasts, still are.
Hmm.
And Bull Nakano she came up in the late 80s, became the main woman there in the early 90s. So it's kind of funny. It's this weird thing where you think of Japan like, wow, they're treating the women as equals. Well, but by the time they turn 26, it's like, well, okay, better go get married.
Hmm. Yeah.
And after she turned 26 and they were sort of de-escalating her or moving her down the card, then she went to Mexico. And then for years, she was actually in the WWE in 1994. Nobody looks like her. So did you bring up a picture of what she looked like in her prime?
Yeah, I have a picture of her.
Okay. So large, although after she stopped wrestling, she just slimmed right down. She doesn't even look like the same person anymore. Giant hair, uh, could throw anybody around. She did a move in Japan once. I'm glad she didn't keep doing it because she went to the top of the cage and did a leg drop on her opponent.
Yikes.
Yeah. So since you're supposed to protect your opponent, so basically she just dropped her ass 15 feet onto canvas.
Ugh.
Like that's absolutely insane that she did shit like that. But absolutely deserving to be here, even though she was only in the WWE 1 year. She was a champion. She was featured on a SummerSlam card, SummerSlam '94, I believe.
Hmm.
She
Yeah, it
got
says 94. Let's see.
Yeah. So she got fired the day after WrestleMania after she dropped the title because apparently she had cocaine, but that wouldn't be the worst thing that would have what happened to her anyway because the WWF women's roster at that time was 2 women, her and the champion, her and Alundra Blaze. That's it.
Hmm.
So she did what she could do there, and a lot of women's wrestlers afterward would consider her an influence. Also, something you may not know: there's 3 Japanese women on the WWE roster.
Okay.
One of them who is what the SmackDown version of the champion. So they've got 3 built in, and they're also part of their own group, Damage Control. So that's a perfect group to just induct them. So guaranteed, all 3 of them looked up to Bull Nakano, guaranteed. So
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking at excuse me, I'm looking at her picture,
mhm.
and she looks like she should be a Street Fighter character.
Yes, yeah, that's it. I read an interview that she gave. I guess obviously it was translated because I'm pretty sure she doesn't speak English. Where she said that she didn't want to look like a man, she didn't want to look like a woman, she wanted to look like from another place, all together, and she succeeded in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like she just looks like she should have been a Street Fighter character. She doesn't look like she's just a normal diva, whatever. So
Right, because she
yeah.
wasn't. I mean, she was big, she could wrestle, and then all the weight she put on for this character, she took all right off.
Hmm.
So if you see what she looks like now, you wouldn't even know
Yeah,
it's
I have it right here. She
okay.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
she
side by
actually,
side.
yeah,
So
she made it to the LPWA.
okay,
Yeah, so like she never won any tournaments, I don't think, but still, I mean, she got to do 2 dreams in her life.
good for her.
I mean, absolutely fantastic. The next one is the U.S. Express. This one I was a little befuddled by. So it's a tag team
Okay,
of Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo, and I think I know why they're doing this. Well, 2 reasons. So Windham and Rotundo, they were tag team champions going into WrestleMania 1.
okay,
We're going to WrestleMania 40. Windham is already in as a member of the Four Horsemen, but Wyndham's actual best run was in between these periods when he was challenging Flair for the world title, but that was in the NWA in a different promotion.
okay,
Wyndham is considered one of the best wrestlers, maybe ever, by a lot of people.
okay.
So Wyndham here, I got no problem with that. His partner Mike Rotundo, this is great for him, but his best
Mhm.
known work in the WWF was years later as Irwin R. Shyster.
Erwin R. Shyster.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I don't.
Okay, so that was in the
I mean, IRS.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember IRS. I just didn't realize that was his name.
yeah.
Oh,
So
so wait, so this is IRS.
mhm.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, so he had that run for like 4 years, even at pay-per-view matches with the Undertaker, uh, tag champions. I mean, like the better tag team would have been him and Ted DiBiase
Okay.
as Money Incorporated, but they, I think this was chosen because they're honoring. I watched Triple H do I guess the conference call with them to tell them that they're going in. He says you were there at the beginning, so they're recognizing them for being at WrestleMania 1. Also, something that you may not know: uh, Rotundo and Wyndham are actually brother-in-laws.
Okay.
Mike married Barry's sister, and Mike is the father of Bray Wyatt, who passed away,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
and his real name is Wyndham Rotunda.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
So I think that also plays a huge part in it.
That
This,
might.
I would think so, because
Okay.
Bray passed away.
Year and a half ago.
Well, it wasn't a year and a half ago. It was last year, but he was scheduled to be at last WrestleMania, and then he didn't because he had some personal
Okay.
issue, and he died 2 months after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Time when you get to our age, man, time's a weird soup. It's hard to remember.
Yeah. So yeah, big news on WWE Hall of Fame front. For those, if you're checking out the site and wondering how come they're still there, also the baseball guys and the football guys are still there. I'm from last year. I'm going to be working a lot on that. Hopefully, before we officially move the head office to Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving, guys. Give him some time.
Yes. So we're getting there, and then Evan and I we were putting in a lot of work to get the U.S. Hall thing going,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're really excited about that.
Yeah, just you guys at home know what the next step is. We have a committee that we're working on. We're trying to grow a little bit. We have 125. We're keeping all of the people who were previously nominated last year who didn't make it,
Mhm.
and we have a list of 125 additional athletes, which includes anyone born in 1971, 72, and 73. Not all of them, of course, but the top people we're talking, Pete Sampras, Mia Hamm, Cammy Granado, Christy Yamaguchi, Tony Stewart, McGrath, Jeremy McGrath, I'm just thinking of people off the top of my head. I'm sure they're bigger names. Or Shaq. So folks like that are now eligible. So we'll have those. We have 125 names who are going to be going out to our committee. Plus, we'll have some additional coaches and contributors going out. So they will vote. The top vote getters of that will be added to the pre-existing people, and then it comes out to you guys to vote as to who's in class number 2. We'll have 25 athletes. The idea is still to have 5 contributors and 5 coaches, but we just happen to have 6 going last time because we happen to have a tie for 5th for both of those. The unlikely event that happened.
That probably won't happen again. Hopefully,
it probably will never happen again. It just so happened to happen, and it wasn't like 7th was close on either of them. 7th was several iterations away for both. It just so happened there was a tie for both of those. So, yeah. So that's so you guys know what's next. We're hoping to have everything ready to go in the next couple months here. So again, we'll probably have the end date as of November 1st, I believe, correct? So we're keeping it?
Yeah, I think, because that's also in honor of
yeah
of your dad. So and we're gonna keep that, and we find that, hey, who knew we work better when we have strict dates.
I know. Thank God for deadlines, right?
There you go.
As my boss says when we're doing training, he always says to our agents, know the score, keep the score will improve.
You do something other than this?
Oh yeah, I do. I do something that actually makes me enough money to live in my house. So for now, anyway.
I just married someone who allows me to do this. But anyway,
yeah, that's true. You married up. So
I really did.
Yeah. She's fantastic.
I pulled that off. But we do have somebody who could be a potential name for the U.S. Hall one day, who just announced the end of his playing career. And we have to acknowledge that. And that's Jason Kelce, someone who I said, and I will stand by this, is the next center to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, whether that should be the case or not, because you and I and a lot of people, we've made cases for Nick Mangold. Jeff Saturday is another name that
Tom Nolan.
Tom Nolan, yes. But bluntly, Nolan's gets a lot of traction with us. We don't see him getting a lot of traction within the actual people who do decide that. And Kelce's got a better resume than all of them.
Yeah. The problem with Kelce technically should be, he's on the cusp of being a first ballot guy. The problem is he plays center. Right. We're gonna find this out next year with Adam Vinatieri coming up, because if you're ever going to put a kicker in first ballot, it's going to be Vinatieri, but I don't think he's going to get through the first time just because he's a kicker. But like he's the 7th, according to Pro Football Reference, he is the 7th best center of all time. So the 6 ahead of him are DeMonte Dawson, Jim Otto, Mike Webster, Dwight Stevenson, Kevin Mawai, and Jim Longer. What do all 6 of those guys have in common?
They've never been in the kitchen.
Yeah, all 6 of them are Hall of Famers. But it took Mawai, who had 8 Pro Bowls and 3 first-team All-Pros, 6 times on the ballot in order to get in?
Mawai didn't always play center, though.
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true.
Yes, but yeah, saying that too, one thing that sets him apart from everybody else, we've never had a superstar center before.
True.
So he is transcended into the public eye. Before we went on, right, we were talking about Caitlin Clark. You saw your first Caitlin Clark commercial, and great. This is the good part of this whole thing where, hey, here's a novel idea. Maybe I can make money off my likeness. But Jason Kelce's been in piles upon piles of commercials over the last 2 years. I just read, but I guess I must have lost my invitation. He was a finalist for the Sexiest Man Alive.
Wow.
Jason Kelce?
I mean, it's personality can be sexy, man. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on the internet women who say that they would do anything for Jack Black. You know what I mean? Like Jack Black, not attractive man, but women love him because of his personality and who he is. Jason Kelce is very much on that line of things.
Okay.
Put it this way. My wife doesn't think Travis Kelce's that good a dude, but her whole thing is colored by the fact that he and Jason get along so well that he must be a better dude than she thinks, because she thinks that highly of Jason. And the
Also,
fact she even knows who a center in the NFL is also kind of amazing, because she knows everything about the 96 through 98 Bulls and college hockey in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that's the extent of her sports knowledge right there. So,
okay, interesting.
yeah.
But I think that just hits the nail on the head, right? So Jason Kelce, transcendent figure. He's also that person, like you say, he gives off this fantastic vibe. He's also
Mhm.
now I don't know if this is true or not. Actually, I don't know if this is true at all. I'm just assuming he's going to become an analyst of some kind.
I mean, he's got to be the biggest free agent out there right now.
Right. He can talk.
Hmm.
He's got personality and people like him. So he's
Hmm.
going to be in the public persona in that whole football sphere
Hmm.
probably well into when they're in the next 6 years when he's up for eligibility. He is one of those, he's the most famous center maybe of all time. Is he the best center of all time? No, but he's the most
No,
famous.
I mean, that's probably true.
And that's huge.
Um, yeah, and one thing that he has going for him is he's going out basically on top. He made 6 first team All Pros,
Mhm.
all of which after the age of 30. So 6 of his last 7 years, including this year, he
Mhm.
was first team All Pro at his position,
Right.
um, which is technically unheard of. It's not even technically unheard of. For an offensive lineman, was
Mhm.
essentially unheard of. They have their peak. They usually have a couple years where they're not quite there anymore,
Mhm.
and then they're gone. He's going out as the first team All Pro center.
Mhm. Yes.
So
On top, he's also the anti-Jackson Mahomes.
that is also true.
So
Yes.
imagine those two in the same room together when they're still partying and all that stuff. Like, uh, keep your distance, kid.
Yeah. Well, I do have to say that if he ends up joining, and I hope he does, end up joining as an analyst, I don't want him in a studio show. I want him analyzing stuff.
I do too.
As he ends up joining as an analyst, and we get the rumored Bill Belichick, Nick Saban version of the Manning cast, because Manning is currently trying to sign both of them to do their coaches version of the Manning cast.
That's awesome.
Next year's football would be amazing. Can you
Yeah.
imagine just I mean, Saban and Belichick's personalities are pretty dry, but
Mhm.
like they would know how to break down everything, the two of them.
Mhm.
That'd just be absolutely amazing.
Well, if Saban with the right partner, Saban shows a personality when he does those commercials with Dion.
That's true. And Saban and Belichick love each other.
Yeah.
Goes all the way back to their days in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
It's not going to move the needle like Taylor Swift does in getting new
no,
people, but for people like us, oh yeah,
yeah. I
be
mean,
nerding
that
out. Yeah.
for the football nerds, having Belichick and Saban break stuff down would be absolutely ridiculous, even if we only get it for one season. Because I think Belichick will be somewhere next year.
Yeah.
I think it's not the worst idea for him to take a year away
Mhm.
anyway, and see where things are. But
Maybe just be a fan for a year. Just
yeah,
enjoy life for a bit.
he's basically just going around giving speeches to college football teams. So he was in Boise State the other day, talking to their football team before spring practice. So,
Nice.
but no, back to Kelce. He has a ring, lost the ring to his brother, but he has a ring. He's got 6 first team All Pros. He's got 8 Pro Bowls. There's
That's
not
a lot.
much you could want more you could want for a center.
Yeah.
And
It's
by
a
the way, his ranking on Pro Football Reference will
mhm.
go up the minute he's nominated, because it's based off of awards. If he ends up being like a semifinalist and then finalist, he's
Mhm.
going to start catching up to Longer and Mawai and the folks down there. He's also way ahead of Tingelhoff, although Tingelhoff has 5 first team All Pros, 6 Pro Bowls.
Mhm.
But that's the thing. I've now named for you all the centers in the Hall of Fame.
There you go. All
It's
right.
Dawson, Otto, Webster, Stevenson, Mawai, Longer, Tingelhoff. 7 in all the years we've had the NFL. It's the toughest position on the offense to get in the Hall of Fame. So
All
if
right.
it takes him 3 or 4 times, it's not because the process sucks. It's because that's pretty much the way things go. It's also going to depend who else officially is done. And if
All
Adrian
right.
Peterson ends up officially being
Oh yeah.
done, well, he didn't play. Well, he didn't technically play last year, right? So
No, I
he'd be
didn't
a
play
year.
last year.
He'd be a year. But it all depends on who actually is done this year.
He was out at an
And what else goes
arboretum
on.
looking for switches.
I'm sorry.
He was out at an arboretum looking for. Minute.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So absolutely worthy. I think he's going to have a much easier time getting in than Slater, who we talked about, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, in our last show.
Who else has done this
Oh
year?
yeah,
Well,
it's
Slater's
not
a 10-time Pro Bowler,
yeah.
And All Pro and all that other stuff. But the position, even as difficult as center, he'll have an easier time getting in than Slater ever will.
Okay, so moving on to the next thing. The only thing that I would sort of say regarding that with Kelce, I honestly think, because I don't have much of an elevator up, elevator down, but elevator down is now the other three centers I mentioned: Saturday, Kreutz, and Nolan too, for that matter, and Mangold. None of them have ever been semifinalists, and when they're looking at centers, they're going to be looking at who's coming up next, and that could be a potential elevator down. The other thing, I guess, before we get to those we lost, I've been asked to bring back the smorgasbord of shit.
So hold on, there's one other person retired I think we should talk about quickly. I apologize.
Oh, okay, who's that?
Josh Donaldson.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I didn't. Okay, well,
so I mean, just quickly, 2015 MVP, 3-time All-Star. Do you think that he has any shot at the Hall?
He has zero shot, only because he doesn't have the longevity. Donaldson, only 1,300 career hits roughly. He doesn't have the overall metrics. Now, I do think he's going to be in the Blue Jays Ring of Honor, and he should be.
He should be. If you win an MVP with a team, you should be in that team's Ring of Honor. It's not that hard.
Well, he had a 4-year run with the Jays, which was very, very good, and as good as there's not too many past Blue Jays that can say that they had that type of run that he had. So he definitely belongs there. There might have been some character issues off the field. I think he's going to be on the ballots, but he's not going to be. He's not.
Oh, he'll definitely be. He had 13 seasons. He'll definitely be on the ballot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can have 13 seasons and not be on the ballot.
True, but you're not going to have 13 seasons in an MVP and not be on the ballot.
Oh yeah, he'll be on the ballot, and I'm sure he'll get a couple smattering of votes here and there. He wouldn't get mine, but I would champion him for the Jays.
Yeah. So the similarity scores for him for batters, just by the way, are his most similar player is Dean Palmer.
Oh, okay.
Third baseman for the Rangers mostly, but Dean Palmer, Troy Gloss, Eric Chavez, Roger Maris, Danny Tartabull, Jay Buhner, Hank Sauer, Bob Allison, Kyle Seager, Matt Stairs. What do those 10 people have in common? They're only getting now with the ticket.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out there. Former MVP retiring doesn't happen that often. So just quickly, I don't think.
Yeah, no, and that's fair.
He's a 27th rated third baseman by Jaws.
Yeah.
And third base is the most difficult position to get in the Hall of Fame at this point. It's almost harder than relief pitcher at this point.
As a Jays fan, he gave me a lot of good memories, so I'm thankful for them. He did have a few off-field issues, but then I learned a little bit more about how he grew up. The fact that he's this well-adjusted.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for the memories, Josh. And I'm glad you put that up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we got him. All right, go ahead. On to your next.
I've got a request. It's the poo-poo platter.
Okay.
We just talked about her, and congratulations first off to Caitlin Clark, who I think has made a case. If Iowa wins the tournament, then she'll definitely make a case as maybe the greatest women's college basketball player that ever lived. She, as we've seen over the last few weeks, seems every day she's passed another record. But let's remember, they're the women's record. This is not me being sexist. It's not a sexist thing to say. Words matter. So if you're saying that she's better than Pistol Pete, she's not. She's not better than Pete Maravich. It's also putting that in perspective. Yeah, you broke that record when Maravich played 3 seasons and had no threes.
Yeah. So
let's just put that all in perspective. It's sort of like that old argument that when John McEnroe was taking shit from somebody, he says, well, why'd you say, I have to say Serena Williams is the best female tennis player? Because she's not the best tennis player. That's it. We have Title IX for a reason, so we can watch this. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. All right. Some incredible women doing some incredible things. And not just always have to say, well, it's like when Sabrina Ionescu, right? When she came close to beating Steph Curry. Yeah, that's great. You're doing all these great 3-point shots with nobody in your face.
I still remember. I bring this up fairly often, but Yi Jinlan, when he tried to come to the U.S. For the NBA draft, they had him
Mhm.
doing all his moves against a chair.
Is that on YouTube? I gotta find that.
Yeah, and all the stuff, and like, so what a great,
Yeah.
what a great all the moves he had, but there was just like a normal sized chair just sitting in all the paint that he was going around. It's a lot different when you don't have stuff in front of you. So,
It's
um,
like the scene in Bloodsport. All right. Rob Van Dam, Rob Van Dam, Jean Claude Van Damme. Nice,
yeah,
Kirk.
Rob Van Dam is very happy that anyone noticed him. So continue.
Nice. Uh, so he does this thing where he's just like hitting the top of these bricks, and then but he did it in the way that just the middle brick would uh would crumble, and then the main bad guy comes up. Brick don't hit back. Same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So I just want to put that in a very proper perspective. I will say another thing though. Do you think that it's possible because let's say Iowa gets into the finals again this year? Let's say through the grace of God, it's a rematch against LSU. Do you
mhm,
think that that final would do better ratings than the men's?
probably.
You know,
Um, Yeah, I mean the best. I think we learned yesterday the best college basketball team on the men's side is University of Houston. I mean the way they just annihilated Kansas. Yes, they treated Kansas like they were Texas A&M Corpus Christi. No offense to that school, but like just absolutely wiped the floor with them.
mhm.
And if the final has a legitimate shot of being like Houston and Iowa State. I'm not making that up. Those are two very, very good teams that could be in the finals. If it's Iowa against LSU in the women's side, that 100% has a much better chance than Houston, Iowa State.
Yeah, because
So,
it's all about that. And I wonder though, let's say that happens. Then where do we go from here? How do we get those? Eh, that's a story for another time. It'll sort of be one of those sad things where they're going to draw a lot of eyeballs, and then they'll both turn pro, and then which is so weird. Whereas almost any of these other guys who are going to make the NBA
mhm,
by so many more people.
mhm.
But that's basketball.
It is. So, anyway, should we move to those who have passed away?
Yeah, those we lost. So yeah, there will be no elevator up. I just sort of like all I really have is those centers. I'm not gonna like force something into it, but we lost a few people, some wrestlers too, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, and one of them sort of came up. I will start by saying that we did have some activity for the
Oh
mistress.
no. Okay.
Peter Povazze, again, I am really good at pronouncing Hungarian, won the 1975 World Championship in the 1,000 meter canoe. He
Hmm.
passed away at the age of 77. Clearly not old age. Clearly a super secret serial killer that only we know about.
Uh-huh.
Um, Going back into wrestling, we already sort of talked about them. One of the Four Horsemen passed
Yeah.
away.
Ole
Ole
Anderson.
Anderson.
Uh, an interesting character. I wrote about him in Chavo Guerrero's autobiography, the Chavo Guerrero Sr. And I remember what we put in the book. Allow me to be another person to tell you to go fuck yourself, Foley.
Fair enough.
Long story short, you ever hear about sometimes people say I don't really give a shit what you think of them. Most of the time they don't mean it.
Yeah.
Oli meant it. He didn't care whether you liked him or not. He probably liked it better if you didn't like him.
Fair enough.
Cantankerous old bastard, even when he was a young bastard, but he could wrestle. He was large, tough, barrel chested. Everything he did looked real.
Yeah. He's originally the Al the Rock Rogowski or Rock Rogowski. It's the original Rock in the
Uh-huh.
in wrestling. But yeah, born Alan Robert Rogowski, he passed away at the age of 81.
81, yeah.
So
But I did
real,
enjoy a lot of his work, that's for sure.
doing a lot of doing pretty well for a cantankerous barrel chested wrestler.
Oh yeah, what was the other story too? Because Vince McMahon bought the Georgia territory or the TV territory from under him, uh,
hmm,
and then put the WWF there, but it didn't work then because it was 1984 and the fans there just didn't like that style.
Mm.
So allegedly there was a story because he told Vince to fuck off, and then so then when he saw him again, he had his wife Linda. He says, "Well, you can fuck off too." Again, he just didn't care. No
Fair enough.
filter.
Uh,
But yeah, four
al-
horse.
al- Also from WWE, Michael Charles Jones passed away at the age of 72, best known as Virgil, who was, I think, Ted DiBiase's personal assistant. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Ted
exactly
DiBiase?
right. Here's the funny thing. I'm glad you got the age right because it was originally reported that he died at 61. He had been lying to everyone about his age for years. So yeah, so that was then again fixed. So when you looked when I last saw him because they were doing a GoFundMe because he was under hard times and then he already had dementia and I thought, well shit, for 61, because dementia's you can get it, but it's still pretty early and he didn't take that many headshots because he didn't
Mm.
really work that much in the ring. Saying that, yeah, he was working people till the end. He had nobody knew that his real age.
That's not bad.
But yeah, that 1991 turn on DiBiase, as much as he gets, later careers, he was always sort of jobbed out to everybody. But when he turned on him, that pop was one of the biggest pops I ever heard watching TV.
Mm.
So, God bless you, Virgil.
Yeah. So yeah, started as Soul Train Jones originally, which is a good name. But he passed away at the age of 72. We had one other from wrestling that I saw. If there's someone else, let me know. Paul Vachon passed away.
Yeah, part of the Vachon, like Mad Dog's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he was
don't.
Butcher Vachon.
Yeah, I don't know that much about him. I know that he had a good tag team with Mad Dog. He was never nearly that name, but I think Luna's uncle, I believe, or
Okay.
father. I don't know, but no, I don't know him that well.
So he passed away at the age of 86
Mhm.
in the booming metropolis where I've been in Richmond, Vermont, which
Mhm.
is not big enough for a traffic light, just in case you're wondering. Um, so yeah, so he was 86. That's all I have for wrestling.
Mhm.
For um, uh, ice hockey, we lost Tim Ecclestone, played for the Blues, Wings, Leafs, and Atlanta Flames from 67 to 78. Left winger, had 100 or sorry, 692 career games, with 126 goals and 233 assists. Um, yeah, so he passed away from lung complications due to rib and clavicle fractures sustained in a fall prior
Oh,
to his death.
oh man.
Yeah. So he passed away at the age of 76. Um, from the world of baseball, one of my favorite interesting names of all time, UL Washington,
Yeah,
uh, whose
yeah, yeah.
whose actual given name was UL. It didn't stand for anything.
Mhm.
But he played for I thought of him mostly with the Royals, but he also played for the Expos and Pirates. He was the guy who was on first base when George Brett hit the pine tar home run. Um, but he passed away at the age of 70. 251 career, uh, 251 career hitter. Um, yeah, passed away from cancer. So,
I remember when he signed with Montreal because that's when I started collecting baseball cards and I had a UL Washington card. And
mm,
so it's like, okay, I'm going to learn all. I started to clip everything that I thought was going to be huge at the time because I thought when he signed with Montreal it was going to be a big deal. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe because I
mm.
was 8.
Also, he was a hitting coach in the minors for many years.
Oh.
And one thing I did remember about him is that Mookie Betts says that when he was with, I think the Greenville, is it the drive? I think it's the Greenville Drive
Mhm.
down in A ball, that UL Washington was his hitting coach and basically showed Mookie how to become more of a power hitter while not giving up his swing for actually hit on base. And Mookie credited UL Washington with a lot of his swing mechanics that have done him pretty well over the years. Um, but yeah, UL Washington was 70. Um, we also had Ed Ott, who catcher, member of the 1979 We Are Families
Denver
Pirates.
Pirates. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. He passed away at the age of 72. Played for the Pirates from 74 to 80 and one season with the Angels in 81. Um,
I remember him too. Same
yeah,
era.
yeah, he was also coach. He coached for a while under Art Howe with the Astros, the late Art Howe. Um, he also probably best known as the his role in fighting Rob Dibble in a fight on the field in 1991.
I don't
So
remember. Okay,
he
what
had
happened there?
Dibble threw a pitch at Eric Yielding,
Hmm.
and a melee ensued where Dibble basically wound up the bottom of the pile, choking out Ott so much that his face was turning blue. I'm sorry, Ott had Dibble in such a chokehold that his face was turning blue. Dibble was 6'4", Ott was like 5'8", and he was basically choking Rob Dibble out. But yeah, he also coached with the Tigers, but he was 72 years old. And also last one from baseball. This one, another former Pirate, also uh, White Sox, Expo, Cardinal, and Philly. Jose De Leon passed away at the age of 63. Led the NL in strikeouts in
Strikeouts.
1989.
Yeah.
1,500 career strikeouts, 3.76 ERA, 86 and 119 in his career, mainly because he was on terrible baseball teams for a lot of his career.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, in 1989, just to give you an idea how things have changed, how many strikeouts do you think he had to lead the league in 1989?
268.
201.
Oh.
That's just like what Bobby Dahlbeck's going to get this year for the Red Sox in his part-time play. Um, but he was traded from the Phillies to the White Sox for Bobby Thigpen at one point. He was also traded for Jeff Shaw at one point.
Hmm.
He was traded to the White Sox for Bobby Bonilla at one point. Also been traded for Ricky Horton and Lance Johnson. So involved in some interesting trades
Yeah.
over the years. But he passed away at the age of 63 after a long battle with cancer.
Mm. Yeah, I remember all those names very fondly.
Yeah, it was going through like his transactions was like, oh, these are all the people whose baseball cards I had. Um, all right, going into politics, which I don't do very much, but I have to bring this up.
Okay.
Former Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney, passed away.
Hmm.
He was the Prime Minister of Canada from 84 through 93. Passed away at the age of 84, and as far as I know, most notably, never was in blackface. So that puts him a little bit higher on your list than the current guy.
Uh,
Uh,
well,
you have
they're
anything to
all
say about
kind
the
of,
former leader of Canada?
yeah, he had a very unceremonious end. He basically he lost because he had to put a tax that they said they were going to get rid of, the GST, which we still have, the government sales tax,
Yeah,
and that was pretty much a killer. And he wasn't able to try to bridge a lot of the gap between, because there was a lot of issues with Quebec, and they were so close, as you know, to separating.
right.
And had he did a lot to try to make it work. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful. Uh, Having said that, now just the way Quebec has sort of changed, it's they're in no danger of ever separating or even threatening to separate again.
Right.
Mulroney, though, sadly holds the record of probably one of the worst. I don't want to say the worst exit, but you know how our politics sort of work here, because we follow the British system. Brian Mulroney was never beaten for the prime minister. He stepped down, and then all the members of that party, the Progressive Conservative Party, can vote for your new leader. So they did that, and it was Kim Campbell, our first and to date only female prime minister. And it didn't matter because like Mulroney was so disliked, and then he went from a very popular to, I think he was on his third term. He would have had to
Mhm.
been on his third term, but just that third term, just the Quebec thing, the tax thing, and in Canada we don't have term limits for the
Right.
prime minister. So sometimes, as my dad used to say, well, I don't have an alcoholic beverage, but every time you mention dad, we raise one up. I always said, like in Canada, we sometimes vote people out just to vote them out, and that's
I get it.
kind of what happened here. Uh, Campbell did so bad, Mulroney wouldn't have done any better. That the PCs only got 2 seats out of a
Mm.
possible, I don't know how many we have, like a lot.
Mhm.
And yeah, so like all in all, I mean, like there's a lot of great things that were said about him. A lot of things I didn't know when I was going through the biography. A lot of people he stood up against. So yeah,
Okay,
it's a loss for the country for sure.
cool. Yeah, I had nothing to say. I realized I just pronounced his name wrong. I have a whole bunch of Mulrooney's in my family. I forgot north of the border. They add an extra vowel and everything, so it's Mulrooney. So I apologize for mispronunciation. Okay, so while we're out in this sort of area, let's talk about the five non athletes and stuff that we lost. The first one I want to bring up is Julie Lynn Charlotte passed away at the age of 101.
Okay.
She created a absolute fashion icon. She was the creator of the poodle skirt, believe it or not.
Okay.
Passed away at the age of 101. I just want to bring that up because I didn't realize anyone created the poodle skirt. I just thought it came into being. So, ah,
I definitely believe it because I had no preconception as to who invented the poodle skirt.
me neither. But there we go. I saw it, so I had to bring it up. The other ones are mean more to me.
Okay.
Uh, Mark Dodson, best known as Salacious Crumb in Return of the Jedi.
Hmm.
He was also the Mogwai in Gremlins and Gremlins 2,
Wait a
Nima
minute. Wait a minute.
Scavenger
The
in Star
voice
Wars.
actor? Is this a voice
What?
actor?
Yes.
Because Salacious Crumb was a little rat, wasn't he, or
The old
something?
rat puppet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So, but yeah, he passed away. He was at a convention in Evansville, Iowa, and had a heart attack and passed away
Hmm.
at the age of 64.
Oh, so not in the Sarlacc pit.
Not in the Sarlacc pit, no,
Okay.
and was not eaten by Jabba. So, um,
The convention geeks will love that one.
yes, they will. um, Also passing away, Steve Lawrence, member of the pop duo Steve and Edie with Edie Gourmet. Best known for us probably his performance as Maurice Slime, the
Hmm.
manager and friend of the Blues Brothers in 1980.
Personally, I don't think you're gonna draw a dime, but if you do, I want a taste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he passed away at the age of 80. He actually had a couple of hits with Party Doll.
Hmm.
Um, so come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll.
Well, you worked
So
a
a
long
few
time.
songs. What?
Worked a long time.
He did work a long time. From 53, he retired in 2019. He was married and he worked with Edie Gourmet up until her death in 2013.
Hmm.
And then he was one of those guys who was on like all those shows like the Diagnosis Murder and CSI and Murder She Wrote and Police Story and like all those shows where what's my line?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it also had the Steve Lawrence show uh, for briefly with Charles Nelson Riley as his sidekick. But he passed away at the age of 88.
I've been trying to do a Charles Nelson Riley bit, and I just can't. I can't get the voice
Oh,
down.
you have the glasses for it on off to the side there. So although
Yeah.
your glasses are halfway between Charles Nelson Riley and Brett Butler's, so the panelist on those shows. So um, that joke killed with anyone over the age of 45. Um, so one of my favorite character actors also passed away. Charles Deercorp passed away at the age of 87. Best known probably for his work in The Sting and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He was he looked like a mobster, had a real flat top of his nose. He
Hmm.
just looked like a Dick Tracy villain, if that makes sense. You ever remember the old Dick Tracy
I
comic strip where they had flat
I
top
do.
and like little face, everything? Charles Deercorp just looked like he should have been Dick Tracy villain. And it's one of those names, if you're like, you ever look him up, you're like, oh, that guy. Yeah, he was Floyd in The Sting. He was Flat Nose Curry in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which makes sense because he's a flat nose.
Hmm.
He also played Pete Royster on Policewoman for 5 years.
Hmm.
Um, and if you ever remember the Man in the Moon video from REM, he makes a brief appearance in that music video as well.
Oh, I'll have to
But
rewatch that.
yeah, so he passed away at the age of 87. He worked from 61 through 2016.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was 87 years old. And then the biggest name from outside of our stuff who passed away definitely is Richard Lewis.
Hmm.
Um, so Richard Lewis, one of the that whole group of New York comics has basically been decimated over the last couple years here. But of course, I first of all think of him as Prince John from Robin Hood Men in Tights. But he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, a whole bunch of, I mean,
He had another sitcom with Jamie Lee Curtis, if I remember correctly.
Anything But Love, I
Yeah,
believe
that's the one.
that was
Yeah,
called. I don't
it's
remember that one like at all, so I can't really say much about it.
oh, I had a bit of an '80s crush on Jamie Lee Curtis, but who among us didn't at that point?
Understandable.
Uh, yeah, his stand-up was mostly he was just played this, which I don't think he was playing. He just played off his neuroses.
Yeah. Yeah. Really dark comedy, self-depreciation type thing. I'm trying to think of like, oh, yeah, David Brenner. That was the other guy. So David Brenner, um,
There are a lot of David Brenner.
actually, I was trying to think of that. I discovered him. He was working as a copywriter at an advertising agency at the time. So he started open mic in 1971, doing stand up in 72. David Brenner, who passed away last year, discovered him. Richard Belzer was with him, Elaine Boozler.
Mhm.
Um, like he was that whole time. That time period in New York gave us those folks: Robert Klein, Lily Tomlin, Richard Pryor, Andy Kaufman, George Carlin. Like the people coming out of New York in the early 70s who ended up being just legends of comedy. He was right there with them. He was rated in 2004. He was voted the 45th best stand-up comedian of all time.
Hmm.
Um, so
That
just
seems about the right rank for him.
yeah, but that's Comedy Central's list that they came up with. Um,
Well, in
yeah,
2004,
so
yeah, it'd probably be if they were to redo it, I'm sure he'd
yeah, I
drop
mean,
considerably. But still, for 2004, that list that makes sense. That number.
yeah. And he met his wife at a Ringo Starr album release party in 2004.
Oh.
So at least something good came out of Ringo's music career. Still looking. So, but yeah, he had all sorts of drug issues over the years and had been dealing with body dysmorphia and eating disorder and had Parkinson's and all sorts of stuff. So, but he passed away, like I
I don't
said,
know
at
if it's
the
him I'm
age
thinking of. He was he said he was an alcoholic. I might have the wrong comedian. If I do, I apologize. Uh, but I think it's him that he was on Stern when people listened to Howard Stern, and he said his alcohol of choice was champagne, which I thought was really interesting.
That's odd. Interesting.
Yeah, but I might have that wrong. But
Possible. But yeah, so he was 76.
yeah, I didn't realize he was that old. But
Yeah,
he kept his hair, most of it.
he did.
Yeah.
He did. Going into music, one of the most influential people who you don't think about in music, Bob Heil, passed away at the age of 83. Um, Created the Heil's Talk Box sound system, which was essential for the Grateful Dead, The Who, Peter Frampton, Richie Sambora, Joe Walsh, all sorts of stuff like that. Just absolutely changed the sound of music. As an inventor, he passed away at the age of 83. Um, Also lost uh, W.C. Clark, the godfather of Austin blues.
Mm.
Basically, one of the main forces. Austin is such a great music city, and Clark is pretty much the president of everything.
Mm.
But he passed away at the age of 84. Um, 1 second here. Nope, I missed my thing. Also passing away at a very young age from cancer. Kat Janis, who had his hit on TikTok, "Dancing Out of My Head," which was pretty big just a few years ago. Passed away at only the age of 31.
Well, you're the
Uh,
TikTok star, so like I'll have to defer to
I
you.
am the TikTok star. I don't have one, but yeah, it was a TikTok star. So it ended up number 37 on Billboard's Hot Dance Electronic Songs
Yeah. Look at that.
in earlier this year, actually.
Mm.
So it was released just earlier this year. But yeah, she was only 31.
What should I have? Did you
Um,
say or can't? Was it?
Cancer.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. Also passing away. Do you know the band, the Southern rock band Blackberry Smoke?
Mm.
They're really good. I highly recommend them. But their drummer, Britt Turner, died of glioblastoma, passed away at the age of 57. They've been around since 2003. They've released one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 albums. I have them on, they show up on my Roots of Southern Rock station on Pandora. Yes, I still use Pandora. I don't care. But yeah, but Britt Turner, the drummer, passed away at the age of 57.
Isn't that the
And
classic
then,
about getting old, Evan? We just don't give a shit a lot
yeah,
less than we do.
yeah, I like what I like.
Yeah.
So, and I'm willing to try new things and like them, but I'm not going to apologize for the things I still like.
Mhm.
Um, keyboard and another one of those sidemen, keyboardist Jim Beard, who played with Steely Dan, Wayne
Mhm.
Shorter, a whole bunch of I never been Mahavishnu, a whole bunch of people like that. He passed away at the age of 63. And that just leaves us with football. Um, so first, one of the most successful coaches in Canadian football history, Dave Ritchie, passed
Oh,
away at the age of 85, the seventh winningest coach in the history of the CFL.
I remember him. I didn't know
Coach,
he died.
yeah, coach year in 2001, won three Grey Cups in 90, 94, and 2006. Um, with the 90 and with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 94 as head coach of the BC Lions, in 2006 as defensive coordinator of the BC Lions. He passed away at the age of 85. You remember him well?
I don't remember him well, but I remember the name a lot. CFL is one of those things watched a lot more since I moved back to Canada, but only
Mhm.
because it's Winnipeg, right? It's a CFL city. Toronto was isn't.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Also passing away, Craig Rowe, who was a Grey Cup champion in 2019 with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, um, and passed away at only the age of 33. Um, he died from colon cancer. Cancer is just ripping through young people here.
Hmm.
Was also all a second team All Big Ten in 2012 while at the University of Michigan. Andy Russell was a big name in our group who passed away at the age of 82.
Hmm.
Two-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers, first team All Pro 75, three-time second team All Pro, seven-time Pro Bowler, member of the Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team Ring of Honor, and Pittsburgh Pro Football Hall of Fame. He passed away at the age of 82.
Yeah, and the thing I do with Paul Lawrence, where we look at old Super Bowl, so we've been looking a lot at Andy Russell. Uh, Also, too, I think, which was sort of a neat thing for me as I was going back looking at a lot of this, when we look back at the '70s Steel Curtain, obviously the first name that's going to come up is Joe Green, and then you go with Jack Lambert,
Mhm.
Mel Blount. But when they were all building that up together, Andy Russell was the star. He was the star of that team at the vet. He was the veteran presence. So
Yeah.
when they were doing PSAs during the Super Bowl, it wasn't Joe Green doing it; it was Andy Russell.
Mhm.
So it was interesting to learn about his popularity that I obviously I wouldn't know in real time. I was a child during that point, and I'm not from Pittsburgh, so
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
lost.
he was drafted in 1963 in the 16th round.
Hmm.
His pick 220. He played one season and then had to go to complete his ROTC requirement. So he missed the next two seasons, then came back and played from 66 to 76.
Another
But
late bloomer too, because his second half of his career was much better than his first.
correct. Also, it's said that he may have the longest play from scrimmage in time duration in the history of the NFL. He intercepted a pass in the 1975 playoffs against the Baltimore Colts that he returned for 93 yards and took almost 30 seconds for the play to end by the time it was going. But yeah, Andy Russell, a member of the Hall of Very Good class of 2011, which is something we've talked about. Pro Football Writers Association Hall of Very Good. He passed away at the age of 82.
Yeah,
And
much
lastly, the biggest
beloved
name for a
figure
lot.
too. Oh,
I'm
just
sorry.
one thing, if I could, on
Yeah.
Andy Russell. Ken Crippen, our sports who from Pro Football Learning Academy,
Yeah.
he re-uploaded an interview that had some snippets with Andy Russell. So I encourage everyone to check that out.
Cool. Absolutely. And lastly, the biggest name probably for a lot of people this week, Chris Mortensen, passed away at the age of 72. Um, so joined, he was playing football at El Camino College for 2 years before he joined the Army for the Vietnam War, um, and began a journalism career after he realized he wasn't going to make it in football. It did pretty well for himself, I would say.
I would say so. Another one of those voices and faces for a lot of football fans. We all know him. We all love him. Peyton Manning was especially hurt, like broken up about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of rare too when you see that many active players who
Mm-hmm.
are that much in touch with a reporter who wasn't a player himself, at least at that level. You know what I mean? That doesn't always sort of come across that way. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really touching to see a lot of the tributes that came out.
I will say the one fan base who has very little good to say about him is the Patriots fan base. He was the person who tweeted that 11 of the 12 footballs were more than 2 pounds off for Deflategate.
Oh,
And even after that, he did that immediately. And if he'd put out something saying, hey, you know what, I was wrong, I was given bad information, then
okay.
everything was fine. But he knew that it was bad information and kept it up for nearly a year, even after knowing it was bad information without making any
Okay.
sort of apology for it. So his rep in at least the Boston area around 2015 and everything.
Took
I
a
mean,
downer, huh?
yeah, like stuff, people make mistakes on stuff, right? He was given bad information. He
Mm,
said that he tweeted it, went to go see a movie, came out, and then checked on it. First of all, don't do that. But the fact that he knew it was wrong and then never recanted it. He's recanted it, especially, but just never did anything about it and did take it down
I
for
wasn't aware of that. Okay.
nearly a year.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was originally said he had cancer back 2016, 2017, something along those lines. It was a weird situation. I respected his reporting, but I mean, Deflategate was one of the worst reported things of all time. Peter King, when he just retired, someone else we should probably talk about quickly.
Mhm.
Peter King retired, and he said the biggest regret of his career was the way he reported Deflategate. Um, but Chris Mortensen is very much for aggrieved Patriots fans, for the media, public enemy number one.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
appreciate everything he did. I do think, as a Pats fan, it is worth reporting that.
No, that's fair and balanced.
Yeah, but I mean, outside, it was hard for me personally to take anything he said after that without a grain of salt because,
Mhm.
again, if he makes a mistake, say, hey, I screwed up and move on, get it. But it was just like the
Yeah.
sort recalcitrant, that's a good word, that's what I'm looking for, attitude as to like, well, I know this is wrong, but forget you guys. So,
Well,
and then refused to go. He was actually tried to be brought on the air at WEEI about it, and then refused to cancel last minute because he didn't want to become the center of reporting that's gone way beyond anything else. He had an opportunity to be like, hey guys, I screwed up, and he refused to do it. So
mm. Well, you mentioned
that's
Peter
all.
King, so he retired, but we don't know if he's retiring as from a spot in the Hall of Fame committee. I mean,
Mm.
there's no reason why he can't stay on that. I kind of hope he does.
It'd be great if he did. We need still some of those older guys sticking
Well,
around.
it's not just that because I mean, some of the newer people, we I hate bringing up her name all the time, like I'm trying to make her a scapegoat. I'm not. I always use Lisa Salters as an example. God bless her, but Lisa does not have the time to sort of make
Yeah,
this a big priority. She can't.
it has nothing to do with her gender. It has to do with the amount of time she has to put into stuff.
Nothing to do with her gender, race, or anything. Just
Yeah.
is she somebody who's in tune with that whole Hall of Fame thing? And half the time, her back's to the game anyway.
Mm,
Which, and
yeah.
again, that was a joke that bombed. But
Uh,
realistically, I'm sure there's a lot of more people, there are a lot of more writers who, or even broadcasters that have the time that can put more into it. And there's a lot of dead weight on these committees. We know this,
yeah, tons.
who serve virtually no purpose other than I don't know. It's not, if it's not even the most important thing they do, and I don't expect it to be in a lot of cases, but if it's not in your top five, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. I suspect that on this committee, there's a few people that qualifies for it, where it's
Yeah.
not part of the top five things that they give a shit about. And if it isn't, maybe he
Yeah.
shouldn't be there. So no, I hope Peter stays on mainly because of his wealth of knowledge and his commitment. Obviously, we're not
Mhm.
going to agree on everything, of course not, but
Of course not.
uh, everything that he does and just sort of like lifting the veil as much as he can. I mean, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that's my my list here.
Okay, so I don't really have an elevator other than the centers I mentioned. I was gonna like put something together for P. Diddy, and then I realized he was never going in any Hall of Fame anyway. So screw it.
I did see something this week that there you could bet in Vegas as to whether Motley Crue gets in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Taylor Swift. Someone put that up, and that Motley Crue only has 6 more years because they think Taylor Swift's going to go in first ballot in 2031.
I think she
Um,
would.
yeah, but so it's just a question: will Motley Crue get in beforehand? So apparently that is some sort of thing you can do. So I just thought that was
Okay, no,
interesting.
I, I'd bet on Taylor.
I bet on Taylor too.
Yeah.
If Motley Crue were going to be nominated, I feel like they already would have.
Well,
So
but yeah, the only thing is like then if once they get nominated, they're getting in.
right. Right, but we went through the whole thing. We had Guns
Yeah.
N' Roses, and then we had, my God, Pour Some Sugar on Me. The band just completely dropped out of my head.
Def Leppard.
Uh, Def Leppard, and like we had all sorts of them, and then they just stopped. Like
You
we've been talking for like 4 years that Motley Crue's the next one in that line,
Yeah.
and they didn't do
You
it.
ever seen
So,
my Def Leppard impression?
is it? I have an idea. Yes, that would be it exactly. I was gonna say it seemed. I bet it's a I was gonna say it probably also doubles as your impression of a person on a slot machine. So
Uh,
um
Also, too, if I do this, then I got Meg White.
jeez.
You
Fair enough. Okay.
have a good
So
bad
I'm going to my
ugly?
good bad ugly.
Yeah, yeah. We
Um,
didn't even talk about what it is, so
we
I'm
did
looking forward
not.
to hearing it. Yeah.
I'm going to start with the good. Just an appreciation post. I already brought up the University of Houston basketball.
Mhm.
University of Houston yesterday retired Jim Nance, who is a proud University of Houston alum, supported the team all the way through. They put up a banner for him in their arena yesterday during
Hmm.
that Kansas game. That does not usually happen for broadcasters who are national broadcasters places, but if any national broadcaster deserves his alma mater, putting something up for him, it's the voice of college basketball,
There you go. I
uh,
like it.
and and Augusta in Jim Nance. I just thought it was a really cool and classy thing for University of Houston to do. I just want to start there
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
you don't see it often, and he deserves it. So,
Mhm.
the bad. Um, we've talked about this before, but there was an escalation this week with the NIL stuff for the NCAA.
Mhm.
Dartmouth is 6-24 this season,
Mhm.
but they're 1-0 in organizing a union. Um, So the University of or Dartmouth University's basketball team voted to unionize this week uh, by a third by a 13-2 vote. Now I say this is bad and not ugly because the NCAA has dragged their feet so long on this.
Mhm.
This was an inevitable situation that was going to happen at some school somewhere.
Uh,
That they didn't come up with clear plans. They still don't have a clear plan. Marty Walsh, the former mayor of Boston, who's now the head of the NCAA, hasn't really had that much time to figure this out as of yet. Things are moving too fast, but they're only moving too fast now because they didn't do anything about it for the previous 10 to 15 years.
I never even thought of this as a possibility. I mean, what you're unionizing to get revenue that's not coming? What am I missing here?
Um, so essentially, it means that hold on a second. So essentially, yeah, they're trying to basically collectively bargain to
Mhm.
get paid for stuff.
Huh. And if they do that, then yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's Dartmouth again. They're Ivy League, 6-24. They have no real power in the they when these guys graduate, they'll have power in the real world. But in terms of the NCAA, they don't really have power. No, they don't really care that much. Um, but it's just interesting uh, that particularly since Dartmouth went out of their way to try and dissuade the players from doing this. They
Mhm.
suggested that the team could be deemed ineligible by the NCAA, or that it would force players who are international to run afoul of their F1 visas. Um, but it's just an interesting first step. I don't know where this goes. It just cannot be particularly good for it just cannot be particularly good for NCAA in general because again, they had under Miles Brand, they had tons and tons and tons and tons of opportunity to do stuff. And their answer is basically, screw you, we got the money, your kids go away. And then Ed O'Bannon did not let them go away.
Mm-hmm.
And they had years. What Ed O'Bannon sued in what 2011?
I
Something
think it was
somewhere
before
around there.
that.
Maybe even been before that. But let's say it's 2010. They've
Mm-hmm.
had 14 years to do something about it, and they sat on their hands
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
over and over again because there's no economic incentive for them to do so at the time. Now we're here, and we'll see what happens with college sports. If more schools unionize, which is a possibility, what does that mean for Title IX? What does that mean for other sports? Can their union basically expand to the women's volleyball team? Right? Say we're all athletes, we're not just the men's basketball team. We're going to take all the athletes of the school are essentially a union at that point. Like, how does all of this work? The answer is we don't know, but this is
This is
not
something they
good.
should have thought about. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, this is
But I'm not
not
paid to
good
think
for the
about it.
NCAA. What?
Then I'm not paid to think about it. That's not even in my wheelhouse. I'm not a financial mind.
Yeah. So it's just interesting in general. Where everything is going with that. So it's again, it's almost like a point to watch, which is where my bad ends up just being things to keep an eye on more than
Yeah, yeah.
anything. Um,
No, no. I mean, well, you're the financial guy too, right?
yeah.
Whatever, it's the legal stuff
Although
too.
unions aren't stuff I do a ton about.
Well, no, but I mean,
Um,
if it's interesting, if it's finance, if it's law, and if it's useless shit, it's you. And if it's corny shit,
I'm
it's only me. I got nothing else.
so yeah, that's the one I wanted to put out there. And then the ugly, and this is honestly um my elevator down. This is my
Oh,
ugly.
okay. What do you got?
Um, I think we've said that when they created the coach contributor slot in the NFL Hall or the Pro Football Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
that we got our first Don Coryell made sense. Buddy Parker
Right.
just got rejected. And who did I say was the next name up because they wanted a slam dunk?
Oh, I can't remember what you said. Oh, damn it. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Bob Kraft.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I don't think that's true anymore.
Why not?
So Bob Kraft came out with the Dynasty, which he funded through Apple Productions, which is just an outright vanity piece that makes him look like a genius and Belichick look like he's the problem with everything that possibly bad could have happened in those 20 years. That only Kraft knew what was going on, and Belichick was just some moronic patsy as this is happening. It is so bad that they try to work with NFL films.
Mm-hmm.
NFL films looked at it as like, this is an assassination piece. We aren't giving you anything. It's just they spent an entire season on or entire episode of Matt Castle's season in 2008 without going over with literally 5 minutes on the 2003 and 2004 championships.
I haven't seen this. Where can I find it?
It's on Apple TV, but it
Oh,
is
okay.
just a complete and utter assassination
Okay.
of Bill Belichick. Belichick participated very begrudgingly, but the people they're getting to speak on stuff are like Matt Castle and Brandon LaFell and like there's no Brewski here. There's no McGinnis. There's no any one of those folks
Mm-hmm.
because those folks would have stood up for Belichick or told their version of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they have all the disgruntled, pissed off people like Karen, and some people who I didn't even know are pissed off, like Jackie McMullen, who covers basketball, by the way. I just want to point that out. Is just like ripping into Belichick over and over and over in this thing. It just looks super duper bad. Like you
Mm-hmm.
want to do something that covers like the ups and the downs, fine. But like this, it's essentially a hit piece on Belichick, and it's making Kraft look really, really bad. And a lot of the people who have because it's making Kraft look so good that it's making him look bad. Does that
Right.
make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. No, it makes total sense.
And I honestly think that this has torpedoed his candidacy temporarily, even more because we joked that the situation that happened in Miami, which I'm sure they're not going to cover in detail, uh, with Kraft, something Orchid. I think I can't remember the name of it.
That's just,
But
yeah,
like
he's not even
when
married
that
at the time. Who gives a shit?
I get it,
But
right?
I don't care
But
about
when
that. But anyway,
right, but when that happened, there was the thought that he's gonna have to wait some time before he gets to the Hall. This is the perfect time for him. This thing is just so bad and so slanted
hmm
that I think this is a major, major problem for his candidacy for the next couple of years. I think he's torpedoed himself with the fact that he may not be alive for when he gets in. Will he get in? Yes.
hmm
I don't know if he'll be alive for it because he's 84 years old right now. So, I mean, if you're going to get him in, this is the year. I mean, if it's not him, your next owner is Art Modell, maybe? Um, Grant Murchison? Or, oh, sorry, not Grant, Clint
Clint
Murchison.
Murchison. Yeah.
But
Murchison
like,
did a great one. Actually, Vinny just did we just recorded one where he discussed he championed him. I'll promote that after. But yeah.
or Hay, Ralph Hay probably makes some sense. But like you have to, of all the ones living, of all the current owners, the only one who's worthy at this point is Bella is Kraft. Where I mean, you pick Paul Allen, I guess there are a few others you could think of, but
hmm
like God forbid Stan Kroenke ever gets in. But like Kraft is far and away the best owner out there. If they're gonna do it and they want to slam dunk, it's him. But he really, I think, hurt himself with how petty this is coming off.
If Chronicky gets in though, and we go to the ceremony, I'm skipping that speech. That's a beer break for me.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to see him ever talk again.
So, and that plus when
Yeah,
they had the thing that came out with all the facilities
yeah.
and how each team did, and the only thing that saved the Patriots from being the worst team in the league was Belichick's coaching and the rating they had, and then they got rid of him. So uh, yeah, because they finished 27th out of 32 teams in facilities and everything else and culture and all that other stuff, and it all was all food, weight room,
hmm
facilities, stuff along those lines. And there have been some horror stories. Like, I don't know if you remember, there's a player named Shallery Joseph who played for the New England Revolution, who was in there. Oh, no, it wasn't him. It was, crap, I can't think who the other player was. But a guy who played for the U.S. national team who was playing for the Patriots. It was told that he could eat from the buffet, but the rest of the Revolution players weren't allowed to have any of the food there. So he paid out of pocket for his teammates to
Yeah,
eat. And then they changed the rule. Like this, the cheapness of
yeah.
everything. Just that coming out at the same time just was not a good look. Trying to take all the credit. Well, and the other thing that came out during the last 20 years, teams that have spent the least on payroll, the Patriots are 31st out of 32.
Mm.
The only team to spend less on payroll over the last 20 years is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And last year they spent a ton in
Well,
free agency.
he didn't have the money for payroll. He had to work on B-roll for this documentary.
Yeah, they're very nice. Or to redo the lighthouse in the back of Gillette. So they did that last year as opposed to doing anything for that the players wanted. So, but by the way, Jacksonville apparently is trading for Mac Jones, as I've seen here.
Oh,
So it looks like a 6th round pick going to the Patriots for Mac Jones. So I guess that means they're either going Bailey Zappi or getting themselves a quarterback in the draft.
we
So
will see. It's a nice quarterback-heavy draft.
it is, and they got the 3rd pick. If it's Drake May, though, I'm not in. I don't like that guy. I'll
Well,
be on record. I could be wrong, but I don't. Drake May just seems like a complete bust to me. So give me Jaden Daniels over Drake May
we
far
will
and away.
see. Maybe one day we'll get around to doing a draft show, but I don't know.
I
Uh,
don't know enough about. I intentionally don't know enough about college football. Like I have to give up something. I'll watch a college football game if it's on, but I can't bring myself to care.
yeah, it's hard. It's just you're right. The sheer vastness. And I got a lot more free time than you do. But yeah, the vastness. There's just some things fall because they just have to.
Yeah. I just
Uh,
I can't bring myself to do it. So
I'm going to close with one random thought.
no, go ahead.
Austin Matthews, he's got to be the only person in the world who, the more he cleans himself up, the more skeevy he looks. Is it just me?
It's because he's a hockey player from Arizona. He has a crisis there. I mean, honestly, Austin Matthews is the greatest accomplishment of 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 Bettman's career.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, like Austin Matthews only really got involved in hockey because the Coyotes were in Arizona and they ice facilities. Because when I did the thing last year about our nominees for the Hall, I did a whole thing on Chris Chelios. And Chelios went to, I believe it's a school in San Diego. I can't remember the name of it. San Diego International something school. It
Mhm.
was the only hockey program west of the Mississippi in college hockey at the time. The only one west of the Mississippi. There were just not rinks until there. And the fact that there were rinks and Austin Matthews, clearly a great athlete, chose hockey over another sport is honestly the biggest validation that Gary Bettman could have.
Uh, yeah, there's a lot of us up here who will disagree in some ways, just because Canadians hate Gary Bettman. But that's another story for
I
another.
don't know, but do the Leafs fans love Austin Matthews?
The Leafs fans do love Austin Matthews. Hell, I'm a fan of Austin Matthews. I
I
hate
like
the Leafs
I
too
I
much.
hate the Leafs and I like Austin Matthews.
I was just saying he looks like a '70s porn star.
Well,
Like
again, because
I don't
he's a hockey player from Arizona.
I
He's got
guess
a crisis of identity. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
I got to look more at the Kachucks because they grew up there.
No,
Yes.
well, yeah, I guess that's true. I was like Keith grew up by me,
Yeah, no,
but
yeah, but the
his
kids,
kids
yeah,
grew up there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Keith is from Medford, Massachusetts. Keith, Jeremy Roenick, Tony Monty, Ted Donato, all from my basic. Tom Glavine as well. So
mhm.
Ted Donato actually was a better pitcher in high school than Tom Glavine,
Oh,
but blew out his elbow
mm.
and ended up focusing on hockey. But Donato could have gone to the majors as well. Glavine, of course, was also a hell of a hockey player. Ended up in the Hall of
I
Fame in
didn't know that
baseball.
Glavine
So
was that good a hockey player.
yeah, he and Donato were line mates
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
growing up.
So I
So
always learn something here from you.
yeah, but hockey in Boston used to be a big deal. Like those are five legitimate athletes all
Still is a
playing
big
hockey. Well,
deal
we
in
don't have any
Boston.
anymore. So
I think you guys have done very, very well.
now we're doing okay. So
Yeah, with that, we invite you to look at a lot of the other shows that we do. I mentioned earlier Vinny Lospinuso. He's been just tearing up a storm for me in terms of
yes, he has.
recordings, and he's been making a lot of great Hall of Fame cases. We've been doing a lot of work where we've been examining old basketball people who were nominated, not necessarily the ones for as finalists, but just that whole ginormous preliminary list. So we
Mhm.
were just taking them sort of like four by four, each one, and just telling you a little bit more about it because the hoop hall isn't, so we are.
Yep.
So we're doing our big biography on that, and it's been a lot of fun. He's also been setting up a few interviews for me, which I've done. And the one that just came up was with Earl the Pearl Monroe's daughter Maya, and that one wasn't even so much a discussion about her dad so much as it was how she uses sports to sort of help underprivileged people around the world. Mostly in Ghana, of all places. So
Mhm.
check that one out. I'm really sort of it's one of those times where you talk to somebody and then you just feel a bit better, like you want to become a better person. That's how I felt after talking to Maya. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
And to be fair, you have a lot of room for growth. So
yes, I do. I was gonna say after it's like, yeah, I just gave him a softball unintended. Let's see what he does with it.
yeah, I thought I could have gone way meaner, but I decided I'd go middle of the road there. So
I appreciate that too because there's a lot
yeah.
of places
So
you could have gone, and one of them I'm thankful that you didn't. And even if you did, we're friends. I'd be okay with it.
yeah.
All good,
So
all good. So check out all of the stuff that we're doing here in the Buchnerverse, and yeah, wherever you are or wherever you may be, let's make it a fantastic day because it doesn't come again.
take care, guys.